everyone. So today I'm going to talk about, is van life actually affordable? I'm not going to necessarily cover the cost of renovating the van because there's a million and one ways that you can do so, whether it's a DIY system, a pre-build, or everything in between. That's just a whole nother can of worms that I don't want to necessarily cover in this video. Instead, it's just going to be the monthly expenses of us living in the van compared to us living in our apartment and what those look like. And are they same, different, more, cheaper? Who knows? Let's go over it today. Alright, so let's start off with the most expensive bill that we have. And when we lived in the apartment, that was our rent. And our rent was $1,100 a month. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment in the greater Charlotte metro area. So pretty, I think, on average with most cities in America. And comparing that to our most expensive bill in the van, that is our car payment. It's about $570. And so you can already see a significant difference there. Because our car payment is also our house payment, it combines two big bills into one and makes it a lot cheaper. One great thing though is we will have our van paid off much sooner than if we were buying a house, and we don't have to pay continuously like we did if we were living in an apartment. So no matter what happens, eventually we will start saving even more money because we'll have this van paid off and not have to worry about that monthly expense either. Alright, next let's go over utilities. When we lived in the apartment, we had a trash and water bill, and that was about $40 a month. Now that we live in the van, it's $0. We've never had to pay to fill up our water tank. We've found it through local businesses, friends' houses, even gas stations, and never been charged. And when it comes to disposing our trash, we usually find dumpsters at businesses or trash cans at parks and gas stations, and have not had to pay to dispose our trash anywhere. So that's definitely saved us some money. Also, in the utility section is our power bill. When we lived in our apartment, that was about $80 a month. Now we just have a solar panel, and so we don't have to pay for any power, so that's $0 a month. We could eventually set up to have shore power if we wanted to when connecting to a campground, but for now we don't have that option, and we don't see ourselves doing that anytime soon. One thing I do want to mention when talking about our utilities is propane. We use that to cook off of. We have a 15-pound tank mounted to the chassis of our van, and we've only had to fill it up once every 3 to 4 months. And we just filled it up over the weekend, and it only cost us $20 to do an exchange. So, I mean, pennies on the dollar, that's like hardly even a bill. $20 every 3 to 4 months to fill up our propane. So, definitely not a big expense there. Alright, so next is our cell phone and internet. When we lived in the apartment, we had iPhone 6s, and we were on a family data plan with my mom. Our portion of the bill was about $150 a month, and then our internet bill was about $70 a month. We had a cable internet connection, no TV or phone, just plain internet. When we moved into the van, we knew we'd still need internet, but we weren't sure what that was going to look like. So what we decided to do was upgrade our phones and our data plan and have our own. So we have unlimited data for my phone, Jeremy's phone, and Jeremy's iPad. We also upgraded our phones to iPhone 10s so that we could document everything like you're seeing right now. Because of this, we knew our bill was going to go up, but it was really important to us to have unlimited internet connection. That way we could stream videos and watch TV while also having connections to upload videos, talk to friends and family, and everything in between. So between upgrading our phones and incorporating that into our monthly bill, along with our unlimited data plan, our cell phone / internet's about about $380 a month. Now, yes, I realize that is expensive, but like I said, that is financing 2 iPhone 10s and Jeremy's iPad into that monthly bill. Once we get those devices paid off, that bill will drop significantly, and then we're just having to pay for the unlimited data plan. Next up is groceries. When we lived in the apartment, I cooked a lot, and it was about $400 a month for me to cook in our apartment. In the van, that numbers actually stay the same. It's still about $400 a month of me cooking in the van for us. The biggest difference, which I mentioned before, is that when I lived in the apartment, I was typically working a night shift and Jeremy was working a day shift. So I did a lot of batch cooking. With us living in the van, that's definitely changed. I find myself shopping about every 2 to 3 days for meals, which can actually be nice because then I'm getting more fresh food. I'm not having to store a bunch of freezer food, especially since I don't even have a freezer. And so we can be a little more spontaneous on how we want to eat, and I don't have to think on Monday, what do I want to eat on Friday? I can plan it a little sooner, and so that actually makes it pretty easy. But I'm still cooking, I'd say about 95% of our meals in the van, and we rarely go out to eat. So those costs have really stayed about the same. Health insurance is definitely something that has changed for us. When we lived in the apartment, we had 9 to 5 jobs that provided insurance for us. So because of that, it was just taken out of our paycheck and wasn't something we had to actively think of to pay for. Now that we live on the road, we don't have those kind of jobs, so we're paying for our insurance ourselves. It's about $200 a month for us to be covered. And it's just a very basic insurance plan. We don't have dental, we don't have prescription, just enough to just kind of skate by for us. Could always change in the future, especially if we were to find jobs that allowed us to work remotely and provide insurance. I know they do exist. I haven't found it yet. So for now, we're just having to buy our own insurance. Alright, next up is car payment. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning, our van's about $570, but that is combining also our housing needs into a car payment. When we lived in the apartment, we had a rent of $1,100 and a car payment on top of it. And we only had one car that we shared among us. We did a lot of bike commuting to work. We were about 9 miles from our apartment to our job, so we could share the one car pretty well. And that payment was about $300 a month. This would obviously look different if you're of a traditional American household where you have 2 cars for 2 main drivers and had 2 car payments. But like I said, we were trying to really lower our bills as much as possible, so we just had the one car payment. Now, with the car payment comes car insurance, and this was definitely something that has changed. With our apartment and our Subaru, we were looking at about $100 a month for car insurance. Now, in comparison to car insurance for the van, it's very different. Our van is considered to be a commercial vehicle, even though the loan is a personal loan, not a commercial loan. It's in my name, not a business name. We have a regular license plate, not a commercial license plate. The insurance company still decided that it's considered a commercial vehicle and needs commercial insurance. So because of that, we pay $150 a month on our car insurance. It is more expensive because it has to be commercial, even though it is for personal use and not for business use. We tried going around and around with them and they just wouldn't budge on that. So our insurance is definitely a lot more, but that's something that we just had to deal with living in the van versus living in our apartment. Continuing our car talk, let's talk about gas. So when we lived in the apartment, we had the one vehicle and we filled up about once a week. So for 4 fill-ups in our Subaru Outback, we were looking at about $160 a month. Now obviously this would go up if we did any kind of traveling in our Subaru, But generally speaking, we could assume about $160 a month to fill up our Subaru. In comparison to our van, the gas mileage obviously is not as great as it is in a car, and our tank is much bigger, so it just costs more in general to fill up a tank. Now, while we've been hanging around the same area, we've also been filling up about once every 5 to 7 days. So for 4 fill-ups a month, we're looking at about $240 for the van. Now, obviously, this is definitely going to change depending on how much we're driving and how much we're traveling. For example, while living in the valley, we've been filling up, like I said, about once a week, so the cost has been relatively easy for us to handle. Now, I will say the price of gas is definitely much more expensive here than compared back home as well. We're looking at about $3 a gallon right now, where back home before we left, it was in the low $2 range, like $2.15, $2.20. So the price will change depending on where we are in the country. It also depends on how much we're driving. While we've been staying relatively close to one area, we haven't had to do a lot of driving. It's mostly just going into town for the day and then going back up to the mountains to camp at night. Well, at the end of this week, we're going to start driving back to North Carolina from Colorado, and we're looking at about 6 fill-ups between now and then over the course of 2 weeks. So our gas bill is definitely going to go up a lot more while we're traveling. So this is definitely an area that the fluctuation in price can change depending on how much the gas actually is in whatever part of the country we are in, as well as how much driving and how many miles we're actually trying to put down in the van versus us staying in one area for a while. Some miscellaneous things to talk about as well is a gym membership. When we lived in the apartment, there was a gym and pool that was part of our rent that we can enjoy. Whether we did or not is beside the point. And now that we live in the van, as you guys know, we don't have an actual shower in the van, and we've just got that solar shower. So we actually have gym memberships at Planet Fitness, where we can go to any Planet Fitness in the country and take showers. This has worked out really well for us, and if we want to, we can also get a workout in while taking showers. So it's a double win for us. It only cost us $40 a month for us to go nationwide for the 2 of us. So it's a reasonable price for a gym membership, I feel. We've definitely paid more in the past when we were part of a CrossFit gym. So that price can definitely fluctuate on what type of gym you're into. But for us, that has worked out really well for us to have showers, but also have gym access if we want to. So overall, if you take these numbers and add them all up, our apartment cost was about $2,500 a month. And that's for one car. If you were to take those same payments for car payment, insurance, and double it to 2 cars, then you're looking at about $3,060 a month for our apartment living. In comparison, if you add up all the numbers for the van, you're looking at about $2,000 a month. So you can definitely see that van life can be cheaper, but there are a couple different things that you need to keep in mind when looking at these relative budgets. The first thing to keep in mind is that these numbers do not include savings, fun activities, or eating out. Those are things that are always going to be different based on your income bracket, based off of your lifestyle. No matter whether you choose to live in a van or choose to live in an apartment, eating out is going to be relative to you and how much you want to eat out versus cooking. Activities, whether you enjoy something that costs a lot and you have to put in month to month, or if you're doing something much cheaper. And savings, not just savings for general purposes, but also putting away money to do do any kind of repairs on your vehicles or your house. Those are all just kind of relative to you. So I just kind of took those out of the budget because that's more based on your lifestyle and not necessarily an actual van comparing to apartment living. So that's something to keep in mind. These numbers may not be a whole number for you to actually live off of. As I mentioned before, depending on how much you drive will depend on how much your monthly budget will go up or down as well. Also, the type of vehicle you're getting can also have an effect on the van, on your gas mileage and how much you're driving. So for example, if you're getting a newer vehicle, it probably has much better gas mileage than if you're getting something older. And I've seen every kind of vehicle that there is here. So it really is relative to how much you're driving as to how much that monthly bill is going to look like, and having to pay for additional expenses like getting oil changes, tire rotations, new tires, things like that. So it's all relative to you. Another thing to keep in mind is that both of these lifestyles can be way cheaper or way more expensive than the numbers I've proposed. I've already talked about living in various types of vans, and so if you buy a cheaper van that you don't need to actually have a monthly payment for, that can significantly lower the cost for you. At the same time, if you buy a new vehicle that's already either built out like a Winnebago Sprinter, or you go to a company to have them do the build out for you and they put that cost in to the loan of the actual vehicle, then that can be a much higher cost. So those can be adjusted depending on what van you choose. At the same time, you can do the same thing for apartment. Like I said, we lived in about 800 square feet. It was a 1-bedroom apartment in the greater Charlotte metro area. If you live in a rural area where the cost of living is lower, then your bill might be cheaper. You may need 2 or 3 bedrooms depending on if you have family or just a lot of junk and you need space for that. You could also live in a much more expensive city like San Francisco or New York City, where that 1-bedroom apartment now goes skyrocketing in a price. So both of these options have ways that you can make it cheaper or more expensive depending on your needs. Nobody's budget is going to look exactly the same, but this is just to kind of help you get an idea on apartment cost versus van cost. Where can you cut out money versus where you're going to have to add. It's all relative to how you do your van build out and how much you're wanting to travel. Are you wanting to be a weekender and just use your van for vacations here and there? Are you wanting to go full time and just constantly hit the road and keep going? So this is just to kind of help you get a relative idea of what those costs can look like, but it's going to look different for you versus what it looks like for me. Alright, so hopefully that kind of helps shed some light for you guys on apartment cost versus van cost, how those can look different for you, and how those prices can go up and down depending on your lifestyle, and kind of help you compare, if you are interested in moving into a van, what that can look like for you. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you guys never miss a video. I have a lot of big plans for us on this channel in the next few weeks, and I'll discuss a little more about what that's going to look like on Friday's video. So hopefully you guys are excited like I am. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a video and see what's going on next. And until then, you guys get outside, enjoy this beautiful fall weather. Keep encouraging each other to go outside, enjoy life, and don't forget to also explore, whether that's in your backyard or across the country or to another country. Alright guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.